Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to explore our programs. We're going to dive into some of the features and benefits that are woven throughout All About Reading and All About Spelling. You'll see that these materials really have a unique approach. It's all about teaching your children in the most efficient, effective way possible, with no fluff and no gaps. With All About Reading and All About Spelling, it doesn't matter if you've never taught reading or spelling before. Our teachers' manuals walk you through each step, with no previous experience necessary, no special training needed, and no extra preparation time required. You'll be teaching like an expert from your very first lesson. I know you've got a lot to do in a day, and teaching reading and spelling should be one of the easier things you do, really. So here are some of the built-in features. The open and go lesson plans are lightly scripted, so you can focus on your child instead of figuring out what to do next. There's very little prep work involved. All the work has been done for you. A quick note about the level numbers on our books. These numbers don't refer to grade levels. It's important for you to know that our lessons are mastery-based, not grade level based. Students are placed where they are at ability-wise, not according to age or grade level. In a grade level program, your child completes grade 3 and then moves on to grade 4, regardless of whether the grade 3 content has been mastered. This can set up a miserable cycle of defeat and frustration. But with a mastery-based program, your child moves on to the next level only after he has mastered the content in the previous level. Mastery-based instruction plays a huge role in your success as a teacher. Since you aren't restricted by grade levels, you can place your child in the level that he actually needs. Our lessons teach just one new concept at a time. This respects your child's funnel, the amount that your child's mind can assimilate and put into long-term memory at a time. Overloading your child's funnel only leads to failed lessons and wasted time, so we avoid that. We recommend teaching for 20 minutes a day. When the timer goes off, wrap it up for the day and place your bookmark in the teacher's manual. Pick up there tomorrow. A lesson may take 1 day or 2 weeks, depending upon your child. Kids are motivated by the wide variety of activities, so there's no more dragging your child through the lessons. We're not an all-in-one program where a single lesson contains reading, spelling, handwriting, grammar, and composition. Remember that funnel concept I mentioned a minute ago? That's part of the reason why, but here's an even bigger reason we teach reading and spelling separately. Students rarely learn to spell at the same pace as they learn to read. Reading is almost always easier for kids. Spelling, on the other hand, is more difficult and takes more time to master. So with all-in-one programs, there are 2 possible scenarios. In scenario 1, the child learns to read the words in the lesson, but he can't move on to the next lesson because he is still learning to spell those words. Without knowing it, the teacher has chosen to focus on spelling at the expense of reading. In scenario 2, the child learns to read the words in the lesson. Even though he's still learning to spell the words, the teacher decides to allow him to move on to the next lesson. This teacher has chosen to focus on reading, so the child's spelling suffers. So you see, it's a no-win situation. All-in-one programs force you to choose one subject to the detriment of the other. I don't believe you should have to sacrifice your child's learning. That's why we teach reading and spelling separately. Then your child can succeed at both subjects. He can progress as quickly as possible in reading, and he can take as much time as he needs in spelling. And just a quick side note, parents often ask us whether they should start with reading or spelling first. For most kids, we recommend that you start with reading. After they've completed level 1, add in spelling. Finally, with our programs, you're never on your own. In addition to helpful tips placed throughout the teacher's manual, we offer free lifetime support through email and phone. All of these built-in features will help you succeed as you teach reading and spelling. In this next section, we're going to talk about what makes All About Reading and All About Spelling easy to learn. There are 3 things in specific that I want to tell you about, and they may be topics that you've never heard about before, but that's okay. I'll break them down for you. The first of these concepts is simultaneous multisensory instruction. Most of us have one pathway to the brain that is stronger than the others. Your child may be a strong visual learner, or maybe he learns best through hearing or by doing. It makes sense to engage the strongest pathway to the brain because your child can pay more attention and retain more information that way. But you don't really need to be able to identify your child's strongest pathway. That's because when children are taught using all 3 pathways to the brain, they learn even more than when they're taught only through their strongest pathway. The more senses we involve, the more learning occurs. So even if your child is an auditory learner, for example, it is still important to teach through visual and kinesthetic pathways. The real power comes when you engage all 3 pathways at the same time. This is called simultaneous multisensory instruction, the SMI method. SMI is powerful because, as neuroscientists say, brain neurons that fire together wire together. When we teach using multiple senses simultaneously, the neurons in the respective parts of the brain fire at the same time, and then they wire together to create neural networks. These neural networks allow the brain to store and retrieve information much more effectively and efficiently. Every lesson in All About Reading and All About Spelling include SMI built right in. Because the lessons are scripted, you don't even have to think about it. But this concept underlies every lesson, benefiting your child. A phonogram is a letter or letter combination that represents a sound. For example, DGE is a phonogram that says J, as in fudge. Every sound in a word can be represented by a phonogram. When students know the phonograms and which sounds they represent, reading and spelling becomes so much easier. We represent these phonograms with color-coded letter tiles. The color coding makes it easy for students to see the role that each type of letter plays in a word. Letter tiles turn an idea or concept into something your student can see and manipulate. We use the letter tiles to demonstrate new concepts and help your child practice reading and spelling new words. If phonograms are a new topic to you, you may want to download our free app to explore them further. Direct instruction means telling your child exactly what she needs to know. We take guessing and experimenting out of the picture. These are logical subjects that should be taught directly and explicitly. Here are some examples where direct instruction really shines. We eradicate the myth of silent E. Dozens of phonics programs teach that silent E makes the previous vowel long, as in the word home. But that's only part of the truth, and it doesn't explain the silent E in hundreds of words, such as have and hinge. To make reading and spelling logical, it's important to teach all of the jobs of silent E. And that's what we do through direct instruction. We end suffix confusion. Adding suffixes to base words can cause all kinds of difficulties. For example, why do we double the N in running, but not in happening? Our fail-safe method makes adding suffixes crystal clear. We show kids how to spell the sound of J. Now back to our word fudge. Why is the J sound spelled with DGE instead of simply J or GE? If your kids don't know the simple reason, spelling may seem weird and confusing. But in our lessons, through direct instruction, your kids will learn the reason why. SMI, phonograms, and direct instruction. These are just 3 of the reasons that our programs are easy to learn. All About Reading and All About Spelling are based on the Orton-Gillingham approach, combined with the latest research. Our programs contain all of the hallmarks of the OG approach. Multisensory, sequential, incremental, cumulative, individualized, phonics-based, and explicit. The Orton-Gillingham approach works for students of all ages, including those with dyslexia and other learning challenges. It also works for gifted kids. It instills confidence, helps children overcome learning disorders, and it takes the guesswork out of reading and spelling. While I originally developed these programs for my own child who had a hard time learning to read and spell, they've gone on to help thousands of children and adults master reading and spelling. Finally, I would like to invite you, if you have any questions at all regarding placement, brainstorming a solution, or simply just have a question about a lesson, please get in touch. My staff and I are extremely passionate about helping children read and spell, and we would love to help you no matter the situation.
I'm just curious to know how she likes this fudge, because I thought this was the best one.
Oh my gosh. So he still thinks that the one is the plain one is the best.
Is it good?
It was good.
I'll try that.